Section 3. Decision in uncertainty. In regards to using rationality against uncertainty, the idea sounds very agreeable at face value, but is admittedly not very explicit in its practical application. To resolve this section will outline two methodologies for handling uncertainty that are foundational to this work. Having some method for handling uncertainty is important because nothing is certain in life. We go to sleep despite the possibility we won't wake up, we do work despite the possibility of pain, and we trust others despite the possibility they will betray us. While we are most familiar with this kind of uncertainty, a more scrutinizing evaluation of reality reveals things we think are certain actually also contain some uncertainty. Even something as fundamental as gravity could be subject to unknown variables we can't possibly anticipate, like our solar system careening into an undetected black hole or the universal gravitational constant changing inexplicably. This shows that we intuitively discount things we find highly improbable as certain. Things like gravity changing, enabling us to focus on more pressing decisions that can be made. Yet just because we believe the probability of something happening is low, doesn't mean we are correct in assuming it won't happen. After all, probability is just how our mind approximates uncertainty based on evidence available to us to help us make decisions. Our personal approximation is made off of limited data and might actually be missing something important, leading to a mistake or worse. Thus, unless we know absolutely everything, we really can't be absolutely certain about anything. Yet, we must interact with the world despite the limited information we are given, as even indecision becomes a decision over time. To this end, it is useful to have some mechanisms to rationally handle uncertainty. Ironically, I don't need to invent any, as we all have many innate mechanisms for handling uncertainty that we use so intuitively, we don't even think about it. Suppose you are forced to play a game called the Safe Gambit. In this game, you have to guess the color of the top card of a deck of cards before the dealer flips it over. The dealer says there are only two potential colors, red and black. He adds that the deck might be all black or all red, or anywhere in between. You might start to feel like this game is just a benign coin toss until the dealer explains the rules. He says if you guess red and the top card is red, you win something important to you. If you guess red and it's black, you lose nothing. He finishes by saying if you choose black, nothing happens regardless of the top card's color. It seems sensible to pick red, even though it's possible there's no red cards in the deck. I imagine you came to the same conclusion very easily, as we understand that by picking red, we only stand to gain. While the uncertainty of the situation hasn't been diminished, we use practicality to handle it. Although the Safe Gambit card game sounds odd, we can axiomatically apply this decision-making technique to situations with a similar risk-reward profile. More specifically, this involves situations where the odds of two outcomes are totally unknown, just like how it's impossible for us to know how many red or black cards there are in the deck. The usefulness of the Safe Gambit is in how we can use practicality to handle questions rooted in absolute uncertainty by identifying that of the two outcomes, one is positive and the other is neutral. A metaphysical application of the Safe Gambit can be used to help us answer whether we should behave as if we have free will or if everything is predetermined. Due to the metaphysical nature of the question, we can't definitively prove free will does or does not exist, so the question is ultimately unanswerable. Despite this, we must deal with the ramifications of this question in our lives, philosophically and psychologically. Although we can't know the answer, we can handle the uncertainty with the Safe Gambit. If we behave like free will exists, and it exists, then we will be able to take optimistic accountability for our decisions and our life's direction. If we behave like free will exists, and it doesn't exist, then we haven't really lost anything. We didn't have it to begin with. While total uncertainty about the question is still present, considering the asymmetry of these outcomes, the Safe Gambit suggests that it is rational to behave as if we have free will, negating the fear from the uncertainty and enabling us to live with intentionality and creativity. While the Safe Gambit is useful in situations where the odds are unknowable, life often presents us with more complex scenarios with many choices, asymmetric evidence, and mixed expected outcomes. We can't simply choose the option with zero downside because it doesn't exist. Despite the difficulty such a situation presents, we are actually very accustomed to making decisions under these circumstances. To illustrate this, suppose you are forced to play a different game called the optimal gambit. This game uses something that looks like a roulette table, except instead of red, black, and green squares, there are dozens of different colors. The dealer explains, like roulette, you must guess what color the ball in the roulette wheel will land on after it is spun. If you guess right, you win something important to you. If you guess wrong, you lose something important to you. The unfortunate part is that you can only pick one of the dozens of different colors on the table, and regardless of what you pick, your odds of winning are clearly very bad. Yet right before you choose, you notice most colors only appear once, but some colors appear twice. You carefully examine the entire table and notice only one color, red, appears 3 times. Even though the actual odds of the ball landing on red is only marginally higher than all other options, red still seems like the most obvious choice. This is because we understand intuitively that in situations of many mutually exclusive options, we should carefully examine and choose the option that is most likely to produce a positive outcome, even if it is only a tiny fraction of a percent more likely to do so than other options. Like the last gambit, I presume you easily came to the same conclusion. Of course, in real-life situations, this choice is highly dependent on the availability of evidence and our bandwidth and time to analyze that evidence. I also do recognize that most real-life decisions aren't as ungenerous as the optimal gambit as it is presented. Real-life outcomes usually contain some unique mixture of positive and negative that we must personally weigh. Still, the significance of the multicolor roulette analogy for the optimal gambit is that even in a situation where a loss would be total and all options highly improbable, we still know what the most rational answer is, the one that appears most probable to produce a positive outcome. If we accept the use of the safe and optimal gambit in situations with the proper risk profile, it is extremely useful for our objective of alignment, as it would make many difficult questions in life have a singular most rational answer, or at least a handful of answers most people can rationally debate.